Hi there. Always Onward on the Blossom social investing app asked me to make a video showing which stocks and ETFs I hold in my Roth versus my taxable account and my philosophy on individual stocks versus ETFs. Well, Always Onward, you're in luck. Here we go. But before I dive in, I'm not a financial professional. I'm Russ, a welder who's learned this stuff through self-education, trial and error over the years. This is my strategy and why I do what I do, but what you should do is your own research. And remember, I am in the United States, so this is only regarding United States investors. And be sure to comment below if you think I'm wrong about anything or compliment me. I'm very susceptible to flattery. So we're going to get into my actual portfolio and break down the thinking behind it. But first, we have to start with the big picture. Most people should have the bulk of their money in broad-based, low-cost index funds. Here's why, and you can fact check this. And I'll have a link to the study below that shows 92% of professional fund managers fail to beat the S&P 500 over a 20-year period. And when you stretch that to 30 years, it gets even worse for the pros. If professionals who do this for a living, employing teams of analysts, using Bloomberg terminals, and fancy schmancy computer programs can't consistently beat the market, the odds that the rest of us can are incredibly low. That's why I'm working toward 85% funds and 15% individual stocks. The funds like DFUSX, VTI, VVIAX, and SCHD give me that broad market exposure at rock bottom costs. For example, VTI has a current expense ratio of just 0.03%, which is about $3 for every $10,000 invested annually. Ladies and gentlemen, that is less than the cost of a tiny box of Bigfoots. I love the game and the hunt of investing in individual stocks. But while that lets me scratch that stock picking itch, if I mess up really bad, it will not wreck our financial future. I've got 4 accounts, and here's how I think about each of them. My 401k is the workhorse. This gets 21% of my pre-tax income plus employer match. Never skip that employer match. It is free money. Now keep it pretty simple here. 60% into ticker DFUSX, which tracks the S&P 500. 30% into VVIAX, which is value stocks, and 10% into FSMDX, which are mid caps. They are all low-cost index funds because my options are limited to what my employer's plan offers, and my 401k accounts for almost 70% of our investment net worth currently. Some financial professionals think that if your 401k has really expensive plan options, then you should think about just going up to getting that employer match and investing the rest into an IRA at Schwab or Fidelity because they will have almost the entire broad-based market available to you of funds, ETFs, individual stocks, and I hope you wouldn't, but you can even put penny stocks in your retirement account. My Roth IRA is pretty much the high growth zone that I'm targeting, and it's where it's a great place to get aggressive with individual stocks that could have huge gains, like Harrow Health, ticker HROW, and Visa, ticker V. Why? Because the profits and dividends will grow tax-free forever. Third is the self-directed IRA, or as we call it, the SD IRA, and I like to keep income investments here. So this account holds my REITs, real estate investment trusts, and BDCs, business development companies, which are investments that pay higher dividends, but they get taxed as regular income. And then lastly, we have the taxable account. This is where we put overflow money after we've already maxed out the 401k, the Roth IRA. We've saved for the kids' college in their 529s. We've put money into an emergency fund, into a travel fund. After we've done all these things, We have extra cash laying around, so we've put it into this taxable overflow account. And in this taxable overflow account, I like to keep individual stocks here, and I almost exclusively have qualified dividend-paying stocks. The key concept that drives a lot of these decisions are whether dividends are qualified or non-qualified. Qualified dividends from companies like McDonald's, ticker MCD, or Zoetis, ticker ZTS, in the United States get taxed at lower capital gains rates of 0%, 15%, or 20% depending on your income. Non-qualified dividends come from REITs and BDCs. This is because they are pass-through entities that are required to pay 90% of their taxable income to shareholders as a dividend to avoid corporate-level income tax. So these dividends are taxed as ordinary income, which could be up to 37%. So I keep REITs and BDCs in the tax-advantaged accounts where I don't pay taxes on the current dividends. But qualified dividend stocks, I think, work much better in the taxable accounts because the tax rate is much lower. Now, I also learned a lesson the hard way with master limited partnerships, or MLPs, and I used to hold them in my Roth, but MLPs are already tax advantaged. The distributions they pay lower your cost basis, and you do not pay taxes until you sell. So putting them in a retirement account is suboptimal and actually wastes those tax benefits. Now, as to why I like to keep individual stocks in the taxable account and ETFs in the tax advantage retirement accounts is because of tax loss harvesting. If I pick a loser stock, I can sell it for a loss and use that loss to offset up to $3,000 in capital gains each year. But because I'm probably never going to sell VTI or SCHD at a loss to tax loss harvest, those are buy and hold forever investments and are better suited in a tax advantaged account, even though their dividends are qualified. Individual stocks, though, sometimes you pick wrong. Sometimes a company's story changes, but at least in a taxable account, if I need to sell, I have the option to tax loss harvest. But there's also something to be aware of called a wash sale rule if you do want to tax loss harvest. This means you can't buy the same stock back for 30 days after selling for a loss. But during those 30 days, if you sold, say, ExxonMobil, ticker XOM, you could put the money into Chevron, ticker CVX, then sell Chevron and repurchase ExxonMobil again after the 30 days are up and avoid the wash sale rule. So my strategy here is ETFs in retirement accounts for long-term growth and individual stocks in a taxable account for the optionality of tax loss harvesting. So we're going to look at my current allocation as of this recording, but remember, it's always subject to change because, as the great Seth Klarman said, quote, "In investing, it's never wrong to change your mind. It's only wrong to change your mind and do nothing about it." So we see I currently have 77.4% in funds. I'm working toward that 85-15% allocation. And at the very top, with 42% of our current investment net worth, is DFUSX, which is the S&P 500 from Dimensional Funds. So DFUSX has a 0.09% expense ratio. There was not another S&P 500 fund that I could choose from, and this is one of the issues when you have an employer-sponsored 401k plan. You're kind of at the mercy of what's available to you. So 0.09%, yes, it's a little higher than, say, VOO's 0.03%, but you got to take what you can get, and that's what I'm doing with that as our biggest current holding. And then down on the line, we also have VVIAX, which is value stocks, 21%. And third is FSMDX. I like having that mid-cap exposure, although I'm open to changing it. And if anybody has any reason why I shouldn't hold FSMDX and not consolidate it into one of the others two, speak now or forever hold your peace. So those three mutual funds are almost 70% of our investment portfolio. Again, this is not my net worth. These are just any marketable equities, any stocks, ETFs, mutual funds that are owned by either my wife or myself. And then I also have SCHD and VTI rounding out the top 5, which are all funds. And currently, The top individual stock is now Zoetis, ticker ZTS. But it's only 3% of my investment net worth and even less of my total net worth. So if something goes haywire, 3% losing would suck, but it's not going to financially cripple us. You can look all the way on down the line, pause the video if you want to get a little bit of a closer look. And at the very bottom, we have McDonald's, ticker MCD, making up 0.60%. And some of these smaller ancillary positions, I am very open to consolidating into something if it goes on sale. Two companies that I am really looking at, and hopefully we'll get into, are Costco, ticker COST, and TJX Corp, ticker TJX. They own Marshalls and TJ Maxx. So I'm still waiting on those. We'll see what the future holds. It'd probably be smart to just pay up for quality and get into those right now. The key takeaways are to start with broad-based index funds because they beat 92% of professionals over 20 years, matching your investments to the best tax treatment, and individual stocks that may happen to pay a qualified dividend into the taxable account. Always, always, always take the employer match if you have one and it's offered, even if the funds charge a 2% expense ratio, which is crazy high. Free money is still free money. And my personal flavor is that individual stocks are fine. I just would prefer to keep them small and aim for 15% max, so any boneheaded mistakes by myself won't hurt my family long term. And most importantly, it is okay to make mistakes while you're learning. Lord knows I've made tons of mistakes and I'm going to make a ton more. But the key is to start investing as soon as possible so your money can start compounding, and then adjust your strategy over time, but get your money in the market working for you. And if you do want to see what this welder is buying and investing on, click the link below, follow me on Blossom if you would like to, or sign up for the free and fantabulous weekly newsletter where I share all these stock portfolio moves and some stocks about to go ex-dividend and some interesting investing thoughts that I'm having with you every week for free. So thank you, Always Onward, for that question, and I hope to see all of you on Blossom. Remember, I am not a financial professional. I'm just a welder who's made a lot of mistakes and suboptimal decisions. And speaking of suboptimal decisions, in this floating little box right next to my head, I share exactly the reason why I sold Enterprise Products Partners, an MLP, out of the Roth, and what I bought instead. So if you click that floating little box, I'll tell you all about it there.